it's Madam Maddox, and this is Society Secrets. Today I have a guest speaker who has his own podcast called The Belly Blast Mindset. As many of us can relate, the struggle with weight goes up and down and all around, and well, he has made himself an official expert and is an expert, and he'll get to tell you why. I'm going to give him the floor. His name is Mike.
Hello. Once again, my name is Mike. I'm 67 at the time of this recording, and I've kept 100 pounds off for about 25 years now. And I see a lot of information. There's a lot of good information. I'm not one of these like, everyone's full of you know what other than me. But I have a slightly different focus, and I used to be an RN, currently still licensed to be honest. And then before that, I was in quality management. And so in quality management, the number one principle behind quality engineering, it's the separation of the significant few from the trivial many. And I think a lot of us, you know, not only do we overeat, sometimes we overconsume so much information that we can almost make the information fit the current scenario. I used to date someone that when she was eating cheese, keto, and she was in good shape too. So it was like, I felt doubly bad about that. But I think a lot of the...
So do you disagree that cheese is not in fact keto?
No, it's not that it's not keto. It's that she was in shape, but she got triggered, and being triggered is a big part of what I talk about.
Absolutely.
And so like just defensively, so it was sort of like, I guess I was trying to talk about how like no matter what we eat, we can kind of make it fit into
I agree.
A conversation out in the zeitgeist.
Oh no, and I know that like there's always like trends, and I only use I just stopped you there because of the fact that keto is a huge trend. And it is actually something that in my own lifestyle that I try to minimize sugar intake and over excessive eating of carbs. We know that those are simple sugars, and they don't break down easily in the body. And at the same time, there's contradicting information on that. There's plenty of information, like you were saying, that says it's not the carbs, it's not the sugar, it's the consumption, how much, right? So
I think I love keto products. I wish they'd been there when I first lost weight. I get these keto tortillas. And I used to avoid tortillas when I first started. Like one about this big would be like close to 300 calories, nothing but like the emptiest of carbs. Now I can get some like this, certain brands.
Oh yeah.
Where they're 90 calories, they'll have 64% of your fiber. And I think like only 10% of us get enough fiber. So I love the keto products. Ironically, being 67, during the Reagan administration that long ago, I got an associate's degree in California where by law you had to take a course called Health 21. And at that time period, the trend was, this is, believe it or not, I'm not advocating one or the other, okay? I'll get to what I do advocate, but just to show you how confusing it is, the big book that they focused on is the core of this was Eat to Win. It was signed off, blessed by everyone you could imagine, athletes, health experts.
Yes.
And its thing was, because this was sort of in the Arnold Schwarzenegger era where people were starting to pile on the protein. No, you don't have to have that much protein. And the guy used to say how like before a sporting event, when it's really close, eat a really simple carbohydrate, then get more and more complex as you go back in time. So your energy would be like a multi-staged rocket. So it's kind of done the full turn. Another interesting thing, raw milk. It's now kind of coming in back again. This is the third time I've seen it come around in my life. It does have more nutrients. It does taste better. However, because it's not homogenized on like a lottery winning or lottery losing kind of way, depending on how you do it, certain people will die. That I read excerpts of a book of how people used to die like 100 years ago before homogenization. It was unbelievably common for, very sadly common for children to die due to non-homogenized products. So we sort of go this demonization and
now the other issue is, like, I used to drink milk. I think my mom probably went through 5 gallons of milk a week when we were kids, and that was also a big part of the marketing. Milk was a huge got milk.
Oh yeah,
got milk commercials.
Oh
but
yeah.
Also, I really did drink. I enjoyed milk, but now as I'm in my 40s, my stomach gets upset, and I think that, truthfully, I think that our products have been so tampered with that it doesn't break down the same way. I don't ever recall having any kind of lactose issues. And if I consume too heavy of a lactose ice cream, milk, my stomach starts to turn, and we know where it goes from there. You know, don't have to get into the details, but it is like a lot of these products that we're talking about. Is it really that the food is bad for us, or is it just so overprocessed that our bodies don't know what to do with what the chemicals that are in those products?
I had the same experience. Matter of fact, I used to back in the day, I used to consider myself I'd say I'm a milky. Seriously.
That can go one of two ways. That sounds erotic.
Yeah, well, and then on the very unerotic spectrum, sort of what you were saying, I had always drank a ton of milk. And I didn't realize till I stopped drinking it. I mean, I was a fart machine. I mean, like, I just figured everyone else was. And now I'm kind of getting embarrassed for, I was, 40 years old, in my 40s when I started, and it's like I went through a whole life. Now, as far as it being harder to digest, there's people talk about milks made for infants. And in the case of the milk we drink, infant cows, I eliminated it because, matter of fact, here's a tip. Look at your fluids, okay? Look at your fluids. I would drink so much milk. I think I was drinking close to 2 quarts a day, whole milk.
I love whole milk. It's the only milk I would drink.
And I would do that. Now, you brought up another thing, because I know you're experienced in the martial arts and jujitsu. Now, to the layman, I've had a little bit, not as much as you, but to the layman, when you watch someone flip someone, it kind of looks like it's all in the shoulders and arms. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But it's really in the hips.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to take that and
it's the lower body for sure.
But it so much looks like it's the arms, and so I'm going to talk about, let's call it the hips of weight loss.
Okay.
Even though it looks like something else. You said something, and I actually have a little TikTok about it. I love milk. You said that. Okay. I've been doing some research, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but
I love milk. Ask me how long it's been since I've had milk, though.
No, not for purposes of this. All right, we have, I've looked this up, and this is true. I'm not going to do the scientific. We have 3 brains. You know how, like, we have these racing minds? All 3 of them have their idea on how to survive. There's the one that pretty much controls our endocrine system, which is our emotions. And then we have the biggest part is our social brain, which can also be called the maternal brain because it's more prevalent in women from what I've read, okay?
That makes sense.
Then we have what it's called the rational brain. I don't really like that because that's more like a philosopher, rational. I think it's more like a shyster lawyer, okay? And part of what I've noticed, back to the hips analogy, certain words, each brain processes it differently. And we talk about our unconscious and all that. I prefer to talk about what triggers that animal brain. Okay.
The primal side.
Think of when you first learned the word love, or hopefully, I know some of you had terrible childhoods, and I don't want to trigger or traumatize someone, but we usually learn that from in our mother's arm. Oh, I love you. So when I have a theory, and this is part of the belly blast mindset, and this is something you can practice with yourself without having to like show your friends going to the gym. If you say you love something, you're not going to be able to, if you love it, it's going to control you, even if you haven't had it in a while. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it just, like when I go to like a potluck or something like that for social reasons, and I have another TikTok where I call obesity the deadliest STD in the world, but a socially transmitted disease. Okay?
Okay.
So you go there, people go, oh, try this. I'll go, in a very joking way, please get the lilt, otherwise I can come off as a real asshole. I'll look at something that, that looks good. I'll go, that's naughty. And then as it looks even more delicious, I'll go evil. And then if there's like lasagna, they're satanic. And people will be like, they'll know what I'm talking about, right? But in a way, I'm actually, to me, I try to avoid, I even slipped up in my as I was speaking about it, I don't call food that's keeping me fat, that if it's in my house, is there any foods you have you had the experience you get something you really like and it's in your house, and even if you're not eating it, it's calling you? It's in your head, there's a conversation in your head?
I would say I have a perfect example. I have an 18-year-old, and we have very different lifestyles. I am very health conscious as far as like what I'm consuming, how much of what I'm consuming. I also try to have like a much broader nutritional plan. I consume more vegetables and things. You have to remember also, like, yes, I'm the mom. There's choice. At the same time, he has the choice to eat what he wants. He's 18. I prefer that he have a more balanced life, but he likes his hamburgers and his chips and his soda. And for example, there is a Coca-Cola sitting over there. I used to drink a lot of Coke, not the zero, just regular Coke. And I think that goes back to your consumption of liquids. A lot of people's calorie intake is actually in what they are drinking, your coffees, your sodas, your energy drinks. And so I just stopped buying things that would trigger a response. And so around Valentine's Day, another person in my home really likes the Little Debbie's.
Little diabetes?
Yes.
That's what I call it. Little diabetes.
You know, they're like the zebra cakes, but they're made into a heart, and they were making like the plus size version. I don't buy things like that.
No.
I'm with intention, because it's a trigger. It's something that my weight has always fluctuated, and especially as I've gotten older, it does not come off as easily. It's not like when I was in my 20s, I could binge eat and go for a jog and it didn't look like I had this huge meal. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days to digest. It feels like it does, So I avoid getting those types of foods because
but you have to have, but you would agree they literally create a conversation in your head?
It does. I actually have moments. I think that most of those conversations happen when I'm under stress. So, or if it's out in the open. So those Little Debbie cakes were sitting on top of my fridge.
I've had relationships with people. I just flashed on a relationship I had with a woman years ago, and she had just always had, and she was in shape, but she always had foods. I'm salivating now. Okay, I think watch what triggers you. And once again, you don't have to tell anybody, but it's just incredible. I like to have food in so remember, look at your fluids. And I want to have, can you remind me to come back to I want to talk about artificial sweeteners, okay?
Sure.
Because that's a conversation to have, okay? Watch your fluids. I have this thing in my house. I will not, unless I'm splurging, and remind me about splurge. The way I talk about food, once again, the hips analogy is very key. Let me digress. When I said splurge, you know how some people go, I had a cheat day. And in my head, I don't actually say it unless I really know the person well and I'm joking around. I go,
Yeah.
You're bulimic? No. Well, how'd you cheat? Well, the word cheat, back to that analogy of the three brains.
The words.
When you say cheat, there was a great movie called Rounders about card sharks. I imagine them talking, and the one guy going, so did you play cards alone last night? I didn't see it. Yeah. How'd you do? Lost my ass. Oh, so you decided to play it straight? No, I cheated. The guy would go, I don't even want to have this conversation. This wasn't a scene in the movie, but with these characters. So the reason I use the word splurge, when you cheat, that endocrine system brain, even though your rational brain goes, I know you ate it, the social brain, I call it my George Costanza brain, because it's all over the place. Okay? But your brain, this brain goes, yeah, I got away with it. But you didn't really get away with it unless you're bulimic. Forgive me if you're a bulimic. Please don't be a bulimic, okay? But what I'm saying is, so I use the word splurge. You ever been like, you got a couple, especially when I was younger, I'm not really in that situation, I lived in San Diego, let's go down to Ensenada, I got $400, I'm just going to get whatever I want. And then it's like, do I really want that? I mean, I'm splurging, but I'm not going to buy something I don't want. There's a whole different energy to when you say splurge. Once again, this is the hips. It looks like it's the arms. It looks like it's the discipline. But how I control these triggers is, okay, I'm splurge. Gosh, it makes it unappetizing. And I will say my program, if you were to listen to me a lot, and this is maybe a reason to not listen, it's a very unappetizing conversation that I have going on in here. Okay, it's very unappetizing. And what was it? Oh, artificial sweeteners. The war between sugar and artificial sweeteners. I remember I was like I said, I might call my program Dead Man Walking, because that's what I felt like I was. That was my input. I wasn't trying to lose a few pounds. I was in quality. I charted my weight. And I said, in 5 years, it's gonna be ridiculous. I got up to 253 at the time. Right now, I'm about 163, okay? Better part of 100 pounds. And I have been down to like 155, but not like my body fat. It's probably about the same amount of muscle I am now, but with less body fat, okay? But I just said, I got to lose weight or I'm going to die. And I like my coffee sweet. One of the things I do with coffee now is I'll use sweetener, sweet and low. I actually don't even buy it in the packets. They come with this little spoon. It's 3,000 times sweeter. It's per weight it is, but they got this little spoon that represents a teaspoon, and it's not 1/1000th, okay? Right. And so I've looked it up, and I'm big into sustainable, okay? That's the big thing. If I hear something, I go, I can't sustain that, I kind of throw it aside, okay? So there's a pretty good podcaster that I agree with 95%. He's a doctor and a researcher of nutrition, Dr. Idz, IDZ. And he said, and this was long after, I lost the weight and all that. He actually says that these artificial sweeteners, and I've learned words from him, a mega study. That's, there's a study, that's where they graph like 20 studies and see if they all go the same way. New word in my vocabulary. I'm always learning, always be learning. And he claims that it actually is healthier for you. But then I've seen other doctors, so I did the AI thing, which seems to give me a different answer. If I look 3 months from now and they said artificial sweetener is good to get off conventional sweeteners, I looked up how many people die due to artificial sweeteners. We know people die to diabetes, and it adds extra weight. So I looked it up, and it said just.
Oh yeah, I was.
It said that it's good to get off regular sweets. There's not really been shown any real long-term effects, although it could affect gut health. But then they recommend getting off of that. Okay, no artificial sugar, no sugar. I'm punting. And then so much is gut health. Like I read another thing where I eat very lean ground beef. There's such a difference between the 5% or 3% and the 20%. It's unbelievable. Like a quarter pounder is on 130 calories. So I'll do that. And then there's the red meat cancer issue. And it was interesting. I saw Dr. Ids where he was going, yes, it can cause more cancer. He was evaluating another. It's like picture in picture. But then he said something that I glommed onto. He said, however, most people don't get enough fiber. But if you get enough fiber, that almost knocks that colon cancer issue with red meat down to nothing. Okay. And once I mentioned those tortillas, which weren't around. And as far as gut health goes, I do make myself a milkshake every day for protein after I exercise. And I got CEs about gut health and yogurt and all that. And this lady who looked like she was on death's doorstep, nonetheless, she had the background and credentials. She said that you want to look for yogurt with the most amount of different kinds of
probiotics.
Thank you. I had a senior moment. I'm going to hear that a lot. And so I looked, and the one I found with the most had 8. You can go to Walmart and get this awful, hold on though, this awful tasting stuff called Kefir that has 12. Okay. And it's pretty reasonable. I get the unflavored one, and like it's bottles like this, and it says 3 servings. I do a drizzle, and like not probably like under a quarter of a serving, and I add it to my protein and frozen strawberry milkshake. I feel like I have good gut health. I think you can imagine why.
I mean, that is a good indicator, you know. I think for women, the thing that's taken the internet by storm, which I'm assuming you probably don't see in your algorithm for the fact that you're not a woman, because it is targeted towards women, is the Primal Queen. Have you heard of it? No. The beef organ. It's for your gut health. It says that it helps your skin and your digestion, and some people claim that they're losing weight. Did I fall victim to it? Absolutely. But it is, I will say the one thing that I did notice, and I'm not in any way, I'm not endorsed by them. I did notice that there's an improvement, like you said, as far as like gut health goes. However, like some of the other things, I also saw some of the same people that were endorsed by Primal Queen. Then, all of a sudden you're like, hey, wait a second, that's the same chick over here is like advertising this other thing that helped her lose all this weight, right? So, you have to, are you doing it you have to know what your purpose is too when you're falling victim to products. Are you buying it because you want better gut health, or are you buying it because you want to lose weight? And like those are the things, is that we sometimes get oversold products thinking that it's gonna be like the miracle pill.
I'm not familiar with that one, but I'm
well, this is the one right now that has like taken the internet by storm. And if you ask Get 5 of your friends together that are female, and I guarantee you 3 of them have it in their house.
And what's it called again?
Primal Queen.
And
It's beef organ. It's all organic, and it's
like you cook it. Is it a drink?
No, it's a pill.
Okay.
You take one in the morning, one before bed. It's been manufactured by a female, and it is supposedly all organic, and everything that's in it is designed to help improve women's health. Now, like I said, I kind of bought into the things, and then you meet somebody who's like, yeah, it's really helping me. Oh, and a lot of people were talking about how it improved their stamina as well. So as far as women go who are in my age group, you start hitting the perimenopause, and then there's other things that happen. But a lot of my friends and within our friend group, you start to have like a dip in your libido. So this is another thing that it was advertising. And like when you start to think about it, I got it. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is really helping with this. And then my friends, I tell my friends, and then so on and so forth. And then you realize that, well, what was it that I was really getting this product for? Initially, I saw it because I was trying to lose some weight. And then I was sold on all these other factors. And then you basically have convinced yourself it's the fucking magic pill.
And then you're with your friends. Once again, remember I talked about the social brain?
The social, yeah.
And what have, now this is interesting.
And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying, is it the magic pill? I don't think so.
You know, it's interesting you said that. I think you might have you've seen a number of them, and I don't have it memorized. I talked about when you go to a supermarket, you're going into a gauntlet, a marketing trap, okay? And what you said, I don't have that, but I think I'm going to make one on this. When I was in Austin, Texas, I belonged to a meetup group called Boomer Time, where, you know, there's like a couple of thousand of us, and there was
like
different
baby boomers?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, you'd meet at you know, we're all going to this because they're going to have this Beatles type band or this restaurant, and there's usually something to do. So I went to a marketing research thing for people our age, and we're in this office building, and of course they had a buffet.
Oh, I love buffets.
See, you should change.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, you got me. So, and there's, so anyhow, I'm there, and it was a, this very bland tasting wafer that I guess it was based on beets. And then the lady who's conducting it after that, she goes, what would you like this to do? And they go, increased libido. Good. I'd like to have more energy. Good. I'd like it for, in other words, they asked what it wanted to do, and I'm watching this.
Oddly enough, you like literally within those 3 sentences,
But
that was the marketing.
Let me elaborate.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and this is another reason. Even people that have known me and loved me, I remember. I was telling another friend of mine that a guy way back when I moved to San Diego that I knew in high school, he says, you know, Mike, I think you're going to be even more popular when we get older because people are going to get tired of regular people. And I didn't know what he meant. And then the lady I was talking to went into hysterical laughter. So and this is where, I guess this is where it is. Everyone else is like, I want this, I want that. And then I go, could I ask a question? And I'm kind of angry at everyone, okay? I'm like, what does it actually do? Do you have any laboratory things? It was like I got up in a church and defied God. Like it was this awkward. I figured other people would. I figured other people would be going like, yeah, what does it do? I was the only one there, and then I said, I don't want you to say what it does unless it actually does it. You know, if not, you know, give it to me. I want to be Superman, and I want to be a billionaire, and I want to somehow have control over my emotions so I'm not obsessing over the numbers. I want, you know, I mean, if we're talking magic, And then the guy that organized it, Jeff, he was the head of Boomer Time. He was like, you know, if you're going to come to these things, don't be rude. And I go, you don't think it's rude with all the crap? We got a 40%. I've heard 44%. I'm not sure of that, but we've crossed the Rubicon of 40% obesity rate, 70% overweight. We go into these, like I said, these supermarkets. Remember how cigarettes were? I mean, even when they don't sell them in supermarkets now, but it was like back in the corner. Like here in Florida and a lot of states, hard alcohol, you go to the ABC store. But hey, oh, and just to put that into this, I'm actually lowballing the 300,000 who die per year. Did I even mention that? Maybe okay, no. That's a 300,000. It's actually a little more. And also another thing, your diet is what you take in. You should Google some of this stuff, okay? How many people die per year in the United States due to obesity-related disorders? It's over 300,000. Another thing to Google, in all of World War II, United States soldiers only, okay? United States soldiers only. How many died in 4 years? 420 to 460,000. That means it's almost 3 times as many, because 300,000 times 4, that would be 1.2 million as opposed to 460,000. I'm giving a low ball on the weight and the high ball on that. And we act like, I mean, we're kind of obsessed with it, and I feel like it's a big part of our education system. Like if you ask someone, how's this for next night? You're at a cocktail party talking to them, we want a high quality education system. Like, and I've met teachers and asked them, how do you define high quality? And then you'll get a blank, and then you'll get kind of the same. Now, the separation of the significant few from the trivial many, wish I could attribute it to me. I was taking quality management. This is a guy named Duran who wrote it, who has written more books than the library behind you about it. When I was taking the quality courses at the community college, they were either written by him, co-written by him, or blessed off in the forward by him, okay? So that's a big thing for me. Applying quality principles that have us, these gadgets that work unbelievably well. We have the ability as human beings to refine the information and do it. Yet we don't. It really
comes down to production and money. They make money one way or the other. They make money selling the product that keeps us sick. Mm-hmm. And I still firmly believe, I know I've told you this story, but my dad used to call me end cap. Because anytime I went into a store, he was never worried that I would get lost, because he knew that I would be somewhere where there was an end cap and there was something shiny. And I still feel that I do feel like the structure of grocery stores mm-hmm. are very, they're designed to attract, I think, primarily women. So who does the bulk of the shopping in your home? I do. And I will tell you this. My son hates going shopping with me, and my boyfriend hates going shopping with me. Why? Because it takes forever. Because there's an ongoing conscious argument happening in my head. There's what I need to buy and what I want to buy. Mm-hmm. And it's always the stuff on the end cap that looks yummy. It's the stuff I know I shouldn't be eating. And it's a tug of war. And
there's something like, I heard it in your voice, and it reminded me of this lady I was friends with in New Orleans. I used to go to this swing dance class, and we'd go upstairs at a place called Rock and Bull that got washed out in Katrina, sidebar. But anyhow, she was funny. We were talking about food and eating, because guess what I think about a lot. And I was saying how, like, I saw this one guy, he went to Sonic, but he didn't have a hot dog. It was like, instead of a hot dog, they put tater tots and all this cheese. And I said, oh, I'm salivating now, right? And And I'll never forget, with the Southern accent, she goes, "Tater tots, tater tots. Now you're talking dirty to me."